Welcome to the Candidates Forum, presented by the League of Women Voters of Winnebago County and Oshkosh Community Media Services, Television City Cable 10. This event will be simulcast on WOCT 101.9 FM, Oshkosh Community Radio. The forum may also be accessed via video streaming on the Oshkosh Community Media Services website at www.oshkoshcommunitymedia.org and on their YouTube channel. I am Kathleen Propp, co-president of the Winnebago County League of Women Voters, your moderator. The League is a nonpartisan organization of men and women that works to encourage active participation in government. Our mission is to inform citizens about major public policy issues and about candidates seeking office. For more information about the League, access our website at www.lwvwinnebago.org. Joining me on the panel for this forum is League of Women Voters member Margie Davey. Mayor Burke Tower is not seeking re-election. With us tonight are three candidates seeking the two-year term as Oshkosh mayor on the April 7 spring election ballot. One will be eliminated in the February 17 primary election. Alphabetically, they are Steve Cummings, Caroline Panske, and Graham Sparks. Our timekeeper will give you cues, and we thank you in advance for keeping your answers short so we may cover as many issues as possible. Audience questions are welcome. Please submit them in writing to the League representative. We'll begin with opening statements, and we'll go alphabetically because it's tradition. Tell us about your qualifications and why you are seeking the office of mayor, and your time limit will be 2 minutes. So we'll start with Steve Cummings.
Thank you, Kathy. I'd like to thank the League for organizing this forum as they have in the past. Those of you who ventured out tonight, and those of you who stayed home where it's warm to watch us on television. Does my time start now? Oshkosh needs to stay on its progressive forward path. We cannot afford to move forward to the past. Now, having served in the council for 5 years, one as deputy mayor and also a member of the Plan Commission, Landmarks Commission, that has prepared me well to serve you as your mayor. While budgets will continue to be a challenge, we cannot afford to be complacent and allow expenses and important projects to be pushed to future generations. When I first ran for council in 2010, my platform consisted of 6 areas: strategic planning, economic development, infrastructure improvements, healthy neighborhoods, quality of life, lean training for our staff, and design standards and zoning which was compatible with the age and the architecture of our neighborhoods. I'm happy to say all of those goals have been achieved, and many will be ongoing as we move forward. Economic development, we have GoEDC now. Strategic planning, we've done strategic planning in 2012. We updated it in 2014. For those of you who watch the council meetings, you wonder why they go quicker now. It's because our votes are taken to a strategic plan. Infrastructure improvements, that will be an ongoing project. Whoops. What's on the horizon? We'll be seeing welcoming signs going up in the spring at all the major gateways. I'm working with the Convention and Visitors Bureau, the museum, to develop historic tourism, and for those cities that do it, it is a moneymaker for the city. We have a public arts program going in conjunction with the university. I plan to work as far as the Landmarks Commission to upgrade our ordinances codes for historic preservation to stop our heritage from going to the landfill. It's also a very green way to treat our community. We are working on a rental inspection and registration program. My feeling is everyone, regardless of the rent they pay, needs to live in a clean and healthy environment. We're also working with the university, the dean of the students to assist us in this program because the amount of university housing surrounding the university. I know my time is running short, but in conclusion, a lot has been done in my 5 years in the council. A lot more has to be done. I have a vision and the ability to collaborate with others to get the job done for the citizens of Oshkosh. So please join me in the future of Oshkosh. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Now, Caroline Panske will have 2 minutes for her opening statement.
Thank you. First of all, thank you to everybody out there this evening and to the league for putting this together, even though I had a little bit shorter notice. We pulled it off. My name is Caroline Panske. I am currently in my first term as a city council member. I was elected in April of 2014. I am also currently serving as the chair of the Transit Advisory Board. I am also on the Bike and Pedestrian Committee here in the city of Oshkosh. I am also a University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh Head Start parent affiliate and the Wisconsin Head Start Association delegate for UWO Head Start. I am interested in pursuing the position of mayor. Couple of good reasons. These are my children, Oliver and Otis, future of Oshkosh. I grew up here, born and raised here, and I'm very proud to say that. I hope my children can be proud to say that as well. I think Oshkosh is on a good path, and I want to keep it that way. When I ran for council, I ran as a common citizen, and I plan to stay true to that form and true to the residents of this city. So, if you need help with anything on February 17th, let me know. There's information available on the city's website on your polling places. If you need help getting there, please let me know. If you need help in any way registering, there's plenty of ways to do that. Just get out there and please vote. Thanks.
Thank you, Caroline. Now, Graham Sparks, tell us about your qualifications, and you have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Kathy, and I want to thank the League of Women Voters as well for having this wonderful event. My name is Graham Sparks. I'm currently a junior at University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh. I was born in Madison and raised in Waukesha. My father's a pastor, and my mother's in the Public Affairs Department of Mayo Clinic. I'm the middle of 3 kids. I have an older sister and a younger brother. I'm running for mayor because we do not need career politicians anymore. Society and members of our generation especially are losing faith each and every day, and it saddens me. When I decided to run, I didn't care about winning. I wanted to get involved, because getting involved in local government is the most direct way we can better our lives for tomorrow. Not Washington, not Madison, but here in our community. My sister is diagnosed with a borderline personality disorder. And for those who are not aware of it, my sister basically just has extreme trouble controlling her anxiety and her emotions, and it's had a severe effect on our family. Me in particular, it's made me struggle with my whole life trying to rationalize the irrational behavior. And it's hard living with somebody who suffers from mental illness, but we all know that great things can come from seemingly unfortunate situations. What I've learned through my relationship with my sister is that things get better when we accept the realities of our situations, but assess the things that we have control over and actively doing something about that. That is what we have here today in politics, a situation that needs active participation. It's time for a fresh breath of leadership to rejuvenate our faith in the political system. The lapel I'm wearing right now was given to me upon attending American Legion Boys Nation. I was one of 98 young men from across our nation to be selected for my leadership, my maturity, and my passion. I have the leadership to make decisions, not just conversations. I have the maturity to relate to others, not just pose for pictures. And I have the passion to succeed because I care. That is why I'm qualified to be the next mayor of Oshkosh. Thank you.
Thank you, Graham. For the next few minutes, we're going to try something new. We're going to try an informal dialogue on the role of the mayor. We want the candidates to engage in an informal discussion about the role of the mayor within the council-manager form of government. What works well now? How can the position be more effective? What would you do differently, perhaps? And whoever wants to start.
I can go first.
Steve.
Thank you, Kathy. Well, by code, the mayor has limited responsibilities. It's that we conduct the meetings, we appoint people to boards, but the mayor position in this case should be a cheerleader for the community. We are the face of the citizens of Oshkosh. A couple of things. Moody's, for example, when they rate a city, they look at the city's finances, obviously. They look at city management, in our case, it's the city manager, and they look at the council. Because as a legislative body, we only have one employee, and that is the city manager. So they look at us as a body and at the mayor. How do we conduct ourselves? How do we run our meetings? How do we present ourselves? So that has an impact on the rating for a city when it comes to borrowing. One thing, I've had some discussions with other people, and this goes back a bit. There's been some question, do we need a mayor in this city? Would it be better for the council to appoint a president as the school board does? We've been faced with a situation the past few elections where a sitting council member has run for mayor and won, and then we're left with an open seat. So we have to appoint someone. So I would, in the coming year, I would see some discussion on, do we change it, open it up to the citizens' comments, but should we go to an
Okay, let's hear from some of your competitors on these topics, or whatever else you want to say about the role of mayor. Anybody?
No, Steve brings up a good point to the balance in the face of a city and becoming a cheerleader for the city, and I don't see anything wrong with that. I think it's important for residents in a community to be able to rally and stand behind and be proud of the face of their community, whoever that may be. Whoever's looking at that, whether it be Moody's or a new business coming into town, if they see, a smiley, happy face that kind of reflects the ongoing personality of the city. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with somebody wanting to be a cheerleader for an entire city. As far as the system working how it is, I'm still the newbie on the council. I can still say that. So this system is the only system that I have been familiar working in myself. I don't see anything wrong with the system. Whether that conversation continues in the coming years or so is yet to be seen, but I think how we have it set up now is working for this community, and I would support it in its current structure.
Graham, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think what's been said is wonderful. I know that through my experiences with American Legion Boys State and Boys Nation, we learned about this. There's strong mayor societies and there's weak mayor societies, and this is one of the weaker mayor societies, not in terms of power or whatnot, but there's a city council, and then we do have the city manager as well. And so it's a constant struggle between which one would be best. And this conversation was had in the 70s. I believe the 70s is when we went to the city manager kind of aspect of government, and I think it's a great thing to have almost the city council serve as a board of directors and have the city manager be held to a very high standard when it comes to knowledge about the city and the budget and things of that nature. But as Caroline was just saying too, I think it's very important to have a mayor with a very smiley face, a wonderful face of the community, and so not only that, but it's treated almost as a part-time job, and I don't think that should be the case. The mayor should always be working, always being looking out for the community, things they could do, people they could talk to, in hoping we create a sense of community within our community and not have open seats in the city council in a city of 66,000. So getting people involved is absolutely crucial, and a young mayor such as myself would be a wonderful asset, I think, to this community. Thank you.
What else can the mayor do within the current ordinance confines, do you think? What would you do differently than what you've observed, say, me or Bergtower doing or not doing?
The one thing I would like to do is, we need more people on our boards and commissions. I'm on the Landmarks Commission, for example. We desperately would like to have an architect. I think we've got to be more proactive, those members of the boards and commissions, to get other people to join. When I went through Leadership Oshkosh, two of the people in our group, I talked to them, and they did join the Landmarks Commission. I think there's a perception that you can only go on to a board or commission if there are openings. Well, that's not the case. I mean, anyone can go to the city manager's office, fill out an application, identify which board or commission they'd like to be in, and when there are openings, we'd welcome those people. There are also some boards and commissions, I've had people express an interest that they'd like to participate, but they're not residents of the city. And I've said, you can come, you can observe, but you just can't vote. So I think we as board and commission members, and also as the mayor, we've got to really actively get people involved in these boards and commissions.
And it all comes down to being that cheerleader, being vocal, being out there, letting people know that these opportunities do exist. When I first got onto the Transit Advisory Board, and even Bike and Ped, I was very motivated to fill those in particular because that's where I was. Transit is full, I do have to say. Bike and Ped, I think we have one more opening, but it was something I kind of took on personally. I still walk around with applications for boards and commissions, just in case I run into somebody and start that conversation, so that I can hand them the application right there. Hey, try it out. You just have to let people know. We have to talk about these things as often as we can. You never know who you're going to run into that could actually have a great idea and solve a problem over on landmarks, or any committee, really. If you don't want to make the commitment and join, as Steve said, you can and sit and observe these meetings. Some of them are available to watch online, so you don't even have to leave the comfort of your living room. There are opportunities out there. The mayor would be the biggest proponent of that.
I think yes, I know, and going off that too, I think it all comes back to passion. If we have these boards and these committees, of which I haven't heard about, I'd assume our student body hasn't heard about them either. And there are many people who are very excited and willing to get involved in local government. As I stated in my introduction, they just don't know about it. And I think that starts with the mayor. It starts with the leadership of the community, to really reach out to those people that they know that want to get involved and have those ideas, to truly get them involved and get them on the boards, as we were talking about. So I completely agree.
Okay. I think the mayor also has more of a role than just a cheerleader. The mayor, I think, sits into meetings with the city manager when businesses come to town, when a meeting is indicated for some reason. I think the mayor is the political face. Isn't that right? That
The mayor is a face.
A serious face,
He
not
is a
just a
serious
cheerleader.
face of the community. I think it's maybe a little perception that, like a Green Bay or an Appleton, their mayor is the head guy. Where here it's a little bit different, but yes, the current mayor is very actively involved. Many on the council, we have felt that if we're invited to attend something, we attend if we can. I know Mayor Tower is very active in the community. I've been very active. In the role of deputy mayor, I did a lot of things if he was out of town, which was seldom. Also, we're invited to different League of Wisconsin Municipalities conferences, and we go to those. Again, we are the face of the community. We are representing, or the mayor and the other council members that go, we are representing the community. And I'm hearing more and more now that people are watching what Oshkosh is doing. There's a lot of energy going on in Oshkosh. They're watching the Go EDC, how that all came together after 3 long years of working on it. But again, when I first ran, I said that is key to the future of this community. And having lived here all my life, I've seen the companies that have disappeared. I mean, there's a laundry list of them.
We'll be talking about Go EDC later.
Okay.
Anything else on the role of the mayor before we go on? Not right now? Okay. Well, then the next thing is questioning your opponents. We'll ask each one of you to pose a public policy question to your opponents, and this will be a time limit of 1 minute. And so you ask a question, the other two respond, and then you have a chance to rebut or to add what you want to add, and then we'll go on to the next person. So we'll start with Caroline Panske, posing a question to your opponents.
Okay. Just let me preempt this by saying I am not suggesting this in any way, shape, or form. Perhaps in the future, this will be a conversation we will be having, but this evening, it's just a question for my opponents. Well, since the three of us up here have forced a primary, and primary elections are generally low voter turnout, would you support a fine similar to what Australia does for those registered voters who do not vote? Australia has a system where if you do not have an excused absence, you have a $20 fine. Would you support any such ordinance?
No.
And why?
I think it's very undemocratic. I mean, it's just plain undemocratic.
Okay. Graham?
I couldn't agree more. I think once the government starts imposing fines, we lose that democratic nature of why we were founded. That being said, though, I think it is also unfortunate that some registered voters don't want to participate in government, especially local government. Like I said earlier, that affects us directly. And so, for those who are watching, please do go out and vote. I will not come to your door and fine you, but if you tell me you didn't vote, I might give you a little nasty glare and ask you to do it next time. But I would not support such legislation.
Caroline, you have something to say about your question.
No, I was just merely curious. I came across this, and I've been mulling over this primary for good reason for some time now, and I came across this story, and I just thought, wow, you know. And the first thing that popped into my head was what these two would think about it. So,
Okay.
like I said, I'm not suggesting that is something that we take on, but just an idea, something to start a conversation. So.
Well, Graham, would you like to pose a question to your opponents?
Certainly. And so I can only imagine you guys are going to giggle because this is my home turf here. But how do you plan to reach out to the younger members of our community and get their ideas and input into the future decisions made for our city if elected mayor?
Steve, how about you go first?
All right. Well, the one thing we have begun to do, we've been meeting with the Dean of Students to get the student body involved in this whole rental registration and inspection program. Talking to the Dean, when she met with the student body, they thought the city had a program, which we don't. La Crosse has a program, Stevens Point has a program. Most of the campus universities in those cities, they do have registration programs. So I think that's the first step. Showing, you know, the city is reaching out to get input from the students in a very critical part of their life, which is off-campus housing. You know, my feeling is that I don't care what you pay in rent, you deserve a clean place and a safe place to live. And I think we would like to have this all in place before the year is out. I saw that.
Okay. Caroline?
It's definitely about just getting out there. When you think about a younger crowd, you're going to want to be downtown, possibly out at the bars. Not saying I'm going to go and join the pub crawl this year, but being out and about in your community, you know, whether it's biking around campus, even just being noticed and seeing people, meeting people, making an effort to be involved. I think that's where you're going to get the bulk of the youth vote.
Well, Graham, what do you think about that?
Sure. No, those were excellent questions. Just a few things that I wanted to touch upon. Steve, you mentioned reaching out to the Dean of Students, and that's a great idea, but why not reach out to the student leaders themselves? I, for one, haven't been contacted much, and I had the pleasure of reaching out to Mayor Tower and had him come to our student senate meetings and to explain the kind of city plan that has been in place since 2012. But reaching out to the student leaders is something I would love to do, and I would have a mainline connection with them. And then also, input isn't just getting them registered. It's making them feel important, making them feel like their voices should be heard, and that's what is the truth. And so, you know, there are many issues more than just housing. There's parking. There's events that we'd like to go to other than pub crawl and going out to the Main Street bars on weekends. And just getting more involved, I think, is absolutely crucial. And so reaching out to the student leaders themselves would be an absolutely crucial thing to do if we're looking to get a whole representation of our Oshkosh community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Steve, do you have a question for your opponents?
I do. And this goes back to our strategic planning, which we've been doing the past 2 years. This is kind of a long question, so hold on. But last summer, while we were meeting citizens, you know, like 9 out of the 14 national night out event, many citizens commented about the positive, forward-looking state of Oshkosh. You know, from stormwater management to our Riverwalk to a new energy and economic development, and our strategic plan. My question is, because we're driven so much now by a strategic plan, do you agree that Oshkosh is moving on the right path? If not, what would you change and how would you change it?
Caroline, you
Okay.
want to start?
I had the pleasure of being involved with the strategic planning most recently in the fall. Well, it was late summer, early fall. And you could just feel the energy in the room when we were putting all this together, that everyone was on the same page. I mean, it was a wonderful experience to be a part of this planning process. I do think Oshkosh is on a great path. I don't want to come in and change everything. I think the direction we are going in right now is a forward, positive, optimistic direction, and I want to keep that momentum going. So I would not change anything. We worked hard on that strategic plan, and I'm going to stick by it.
Graham?
Yes, no, I agree, and I've had the opportunity to read through the strategic plan many times. I think, and would you like to repeat that last part of the question, Steve, if you could? just those last couple
And do you
lines.
agree that Oshkosh is moving on the right path? If not, what would you change and how would you change it?
Yes, absolutely, and I think we are on the right path. I think that's why I came here. That's why I came to the city. That's why I fell in love with the city. The potential is absolutely immense, and so I think revisiting the strategic plan that expired, because it was the 2012-2014 strategic plan. Being elected mayor, we're going to really evaluate what was successful and what wasn't. And so by no means am I coming up here and looking to change anything too drastic, but I think my passion and my vision for the community, along with our strategic plan, is going to be an absolute killer dual, kind of dual wield, and get this show on the road and really get some positive things back into the community in a positive light. Thank you.
Okay, Steve, what are your feelings on the plan?
Well, I come out of a marketing background, so we live by strategic plans. And as I said before, I think one of the reasons the council meetings are much shorter, they're handled in a very civilized manner, they're very professional, because our votes are basically in support of a strategic plan. So I think we'll be doing it again in 2016. But as Caroline said, in that room, it was the council, it was city staff, and everyone was on the same page. Everyone knew why we needed economic development. Everyone knew the reason why healthy neighborhoods and how the police supported and all the other functions. So it's, to me, it's just one of the strongest tools any organization can have.
Okay, good. Well, now it's time for questions from the audience and the panel. We've got a number of questions already submitted. But I want to start out by asking a basic question. I think you've answered this. Do you support the council manager form of government? And start with Graham.
Yes, I do. I think it lessens the burden of having one person do everything and know everything. So the mayor's job is to set the agenda, to run the meetings, and to be asking questions of the city manager, and they kind of keep each other on their toes. So the city manager is really focused on the economic side and the budget, and making sure that we understand the nitty-gritty kind of portion of city government and local government. But the mayor is there to ask the right questions and to keep it on the right path. And so I think it's a wonderful kind of teamwork, and then that's when the city council comes in as well. It's a team effort, and I think the city manager role of government does an excellent job providing that.
Okay, thank you. Either one of you. Caroline?
Yes, we touched on that enough. I don't need to reiterate the points too much, but yes, I do support that.
Great. Steve?
I support it as well, and I think what it gives any community that has a city manager, you've got a professional in place. It's the same thing with corporations. They've moved up the ladder. They know what works. They know what doesn't work. They know how to get things done quicker. We've got an excellent city manager. And the council, the mayor is just 1 of 7 votes in the council. And I think we've worked very hard not to micromanage our city manager. He has goals and objectives. Go do your thing, as do his staff. And I think it's just a very positive form of government.
Okay, thank you. Margie, do you have a question?
I do. There are several important infrastructure projects that are facing the city: streets, sewer and water, transit, stormwater, buildings, equipment. In your opinion, what are the most important infrastructure projects? And do you think that the encroachment of industry near residential districts affects that?
Who wants to start?
I guess.
Graham?
Yeah,
Sure, go ahead if
sure.
you're ready.
No, definitely. So infrastructure is huge, and one of my biggest things that I like to see is I think our infrastructure is lacking. It's decades behind a lot of other middle-sized cities like us. So I think first things first. Roads aren't always going to be perfect. There are going to be bad roads, but knowing that, I think we need to have a serious assessment and fix the roads on a need-based priority. Some roads haven't been touched. I know some over by the university as well. McKinley is awful to drive on, but just the roads in general. Now, also looking at our infrastructure, implementing sustainable ways, increasing our transit system, utilizing the GPS units that are coming to other middle-sized cities, getting them on a mobile app, looking at our bike lanes, and looking at ways we can get around our city in a sustainable manner and a very efficient manner would be absolutely crucial. And then to touch upon your last question with industrial encroaching upon residential, I think that is worrisome if we're looking to expand our city's residential areas and bring more people to our city. But if it's for the right reasons and we can look at economic development and that trumps trying to bring more people to the city and it would benefit our economy more, I think that's a discussion that we need to have. Thank you.
Okay. Steve?
I can go ahead. Yeah, the we have spent a lot of money the last few years, and we have finally said we've got to be much more. We have to be aggressive but prudent, if that makes any sense. We can only borrow so much, and we've given the city manager and the finance department a goal of that. I think the most critical is wastewater management because the effect it has on our citizens and their homes. As far as the streets, having lived here all my life, some of the state streets are much older than I am. It's a matter of, it's hard. We were trying very hard to explain to the citizens it's more than just the condition of the street. It's the infrastructure underneath it. And when we're finding sewers that are from the 1880s, there's this whole Pazer rating on what gets done first. So people, we have to do a better job of communicating why a street's being torn up, because it may be a street that's fairly decent, but underneath the infrastructure is collapsing. And we have backed off a little bit from our aggressive schedule, but because it's a financial situation, we had to slow down. But we've got the capital improvement plan goes out to 5 years, and everything's identified, what streets, what everything. So it's a well thought out plan by our Public Works Department, which again goes back to our strategic planning.
Okay, Caroline?
I want to touch on streets since they both touched on that. I think we're kind of going to have to look forward to getting rid of certain aspects of infrastructure in the city. We've got some eyesores around, and we are working on things like that. Buckstaff, Pioneer, all those areas that are now demolished. Now we're looking at remediation. So taking those former industrial use areas and turning them into something else is going to be an integral part of the infrastructure of our city. As far as industrial near residential areas, depending on what Graham said, depending on the situation, there are pros and cons to both of that. I would be more interested in, a specific example before I could answer on that. You know what I mean? Because it depends on what you're going to put into a residential neighborhood and what you're going to do as far as security concerns and noise pollution. There's all different aspects to that, so it would be a case-by-case basis.
And it's probably going to be addressed by zoning laws anyway. but
There's many factors there. So.
Just something to think about.
If I kind of answer, I forgot the industrial part, but the city has made huge strides over the way it was, where there was residential and industrial right next to each other. I mean, that's pretty much gone with industrial parks. I think the city's done a far better job on planning that. Here's industrial park, here's residential, and unfortunately, I think we've demolished too much of our old industry. We could have recycled those buildings that other communities have done, and I think that it's too late now. But I've been to cities where in the South, they've taken old textile mills, and they mixed use, office, some museums, apartments, condos, and I think we missed a great big chance there years ago. But
Well, it's coming. We got the Lennox building.
the former Wheaton,
Yep.
But that's one that the few that's left.
Well, it's something.
Audience members are welcome to submit questions to league members, so please do so. Earlier, I said that we would ask a question about economic development.
Yeah.
And as Caroline and Steve know, the 2012 Prager report recommended that a public-private organization focus on economic development, and the GO EDC, Greater Oshkosh Economic Development Corporation, has been formed. What is the city's role in Oshkosh economic development now? that has been formed? And does the mayor have a particular role to play in either Go EDC or economic development? And in your opinion, is Oshkosh now on the right track for economic development? Lots of questions there, so if you need a little bit more time, I'll be generous. Who wants to start? Caroline.
At this point, they've kind of gone through all the nitty-gritty. Council has been along for the ride and on the final part here, or at least my portion has been, but I'm comfortable now with Go EDC, the formations. I had questions in the beginning, getting more familiar with everything, but at this point now, I am confident in Go EDC, the organizational structure. I am confident in them, and I'm okay with kind of sitting back and letting them take off. Enabling them, I think Steve said it before, micromanage. This is their central area of focus. I want to see what they can do. And hopefully, I don't know if they're on the right track because things are just still kind of getting started, but I don't think that they're veering off yet.
Okay. Graham, do you have something to say about that?
Sure. Well, I'll be the first to admit, being 20 years old and a junior at University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh, I haven't had the opportunity, as Steve and Caroline have had, to fully understand what Go to EDC is doing. But from what Caroline just answered as well, and understanding a little bit about it, I did know that it is kind of in the works now. And I think economic development is absolutely imperative for our city, and I think we're already on the right track. And from what it seems like, there's a structure already kind of in place with Go EDC. But I also, being elected, I would ask questions. I would make sure I understand fully as to what's going on, not to micromanage, but to make sure I'm caught up to date with what's going on. If there's anything that needs to be changed or any conversations that need to be had with, our Oshkosh Chamber of Commerce and other private entities as well within the community for economic development, I think those conversations still need to be had, regardless on what structure is in place, because there's always room for improvement.
Steve?
Thank you. We envisioned the public-private partnership. It took us 3 years to get this finally put together. We had a great bunch of people who worked on it. Your question, should the mayor be involved? Yes, there are tax dollars involved. Mayor Tower has been involved, so is the city manager, but yes, the mayor should be involved in this whole program, as long as there are tax dollars involved, which there will be. I've met with some city managers in different parts of the country and that have done a good job of economic development, and they've gone from being the city-led to being a chamber-led, and they all kind of have said it should be the public-private partnership like we have. If anyone's gone to Wausau, there's been an explosion of buildings along the highway up there. That was a public-private partnership. The best words of advice I received from someone down south who they just brought in like a 1,300 employee Caterpillar plant. He said their economic development people, they had land to offer. They had a skilled workforce. There was money involved, both county, city, and state. But he said quality of life. And if you see the efforts that the council is now putting behind quality of life, that is to support economic development. And as this individual said, if the spouse of the CEO doesn't like the community, they're not going to come here.
Okay, thank you. Margie, a question.
Well, following up a little bit on that, which city services would you categorize as quality of life? How important are they in your opinion? What role, if any, do quality of life services play in economic development? How important are quality of life services to residents? And feel free to list what you see as the quality of life components of Oshkosh.
Who wants to start?
Sure, I'll start. Well, actually, my great-grandfather was Conrad Worth, he was the director of the National Park Service under FDR and all the way up to President LBJ. And so deep in my blood is a wonderful appreciation for our parks and for the culture that is behind those. So quality of life isn't just parks. It's the local businesses, the small entrepreneurship businesses, the mom and pop shops. A sense of just culture and community, and anything that adds to that, I think, falls under the quality of life category. And so that being said, I think, and what was one of the questions you? I think it was one of the last few that you asked.
How important are quality of life
Yeah.
services in economic development and in quality of life for citizens?
Yes, that one was it. Quality of life for economic development, I think it's crucial. I think we have a lot of potential, especially with the waterfront property and the Buck staff and the Pioneer Inn. So much opportunity to further inculcate our culture here in the city. And so the quality of life is absolutely essential to the residents, and also to make it attractive for people to come to our city and reside here and start families here. Thank you.
Thank you. Who wants to go next?
I can go next.
Okay, Steve.
I was just making notes. As far as quality of life, I think way at the top is education, our schools. Next would be our neighborhoods. And again, the emphasis we're putting on the Healthy Neighborhood Initiative. And then the other things, parks are certainly part of it, the museum, the library, the water. I mean, fishing. I mean, I once worked for a company that said we couldn't get an engineer to come here unless he was a walleye fisherman. It's the whole culture. It's the feeling of the community. It's our churches. It's our historic preservation. I mean, we're working very hard to stop our history from going to the landfill. There are people that like that part of a community, the richness, and we're making efforts to really start to emphasize that. But so again, it's all those things that we don't consider work that we enjoy doing.
Caroline?
Well, being the mother of two boys, we spend a lot of time outside, a lot of times in the parks. So those are big quality of life things for us, things that we enjoy doing, just to to get out in the community. Another big quality of life would be public transportation. If you want to enhance somebody's quality of life, they're going to have a job. They're going to have a way to get there. Those things, education is going to be key, but that public transportation key on how to get people to and from these areas is also going to be very important. I don't know if you want me to keep going with the other question. I think they've kind of been answered, so I don't want to waste any time on there.
Nobody mentioned Grand Opera House. Is that part of the quality of life?
Very much so.
Absolutely.
As is the Payne Arts Center, tennis courts, baseball diamonds.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different aspects in this community, so many different people who enjoy so many different things. Each of us would probably have very different items that we would consider to enhance our quality of life, but by offering all these things and having them available, we are Event City after all. I mean, if you can't find something to do here.
The Riverwalk is certainly part of it. And we're working hard now to get public art on the Riverwalk. We've got the historical signage going up on the river. All things to engage people to the community. As we put together historic tourism, and I've been in cities, small cities more in the south that don't have the luxury of bars like we do on Main Street to draw people. They've had to be creative, and they've done a great job with their history and their tourism. They don't focus on the Civil War. It's all of it, and it generates income. And I've been saying, let's celebrate our history for profit. And that brings
Sometimes quality of life services get lower priority when it comes to budget crunch time.
Yeah.
How would you respond to the priority of quality of life services when we get to budget time?
I think we did a pretty good job this past budget season preserving a few of those. I don't think we really had any issues. There was nothing on the chopping block that, obviously there were suggestions, I'm sure, about cutting hours at, the library and things like that, but we're really such big proponents of these aspects of our city that we don't want to do that. When the money does run out, obviously you have to look at those cuts, but I think we're trying to be more fiscally responsible in other ways where we can keep that as part of our community.
Okay. Graham?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it's imperative to hold those to the utmost priority. Obviously there are things that we have to consider, regarding property tax and any TIFs that are continue to be increasing, and so I think it's essential to have collaboration with the city manager and making sure that our budget is not only balanced but the priorities of any strategic plan that we come to make once there's an elected mayor here for the city is absolutely crucial. So I think they are of the utmost priority to retain our culture here of Oshkosh.
Steve?
Thank you. Well, quality of life at the council, that's one of our goals, and that's part of our strategic plan. And again, it's the impact it has on economic development, the impact it has on keeping residents here, attracting people. So I don't believe we cut much if at all. I mean, we may have to scale things back, but I mean, it's part, again, of a strategic plan. There is a reason we're doing all this stuff, and it's economic development. I mean, people have a choice in the community now because of transportation. People that move here are used to commuting. And if you want to live in Appleton or Neenah or Fond du Lac, and you come from a major city, it's a much shorter commute. So we have to do things that convince people that this is a city of choice, from quality of life to the educational system, everything in between.
Okay. Margie, how about a question?
Okay. Oshkosh's demographics have been changing quite a bit over the last few years. What do you think the role of the mayor should be in leading, being welcome and inclusive to newcomers, whether it's cultural, ethnic, different races? How would you go about including everyone in our city? Everyone in our city, quite literally.
Well, I guess I'll take it first. I think that's what's part of being a leader, is including everyone, regardless on their race, age, gender, anything. I think so. I think it's also important, kind of piggybacking off of what we were just talking about, having people understand that when they come to this city and they see our quality of life priority and the history of our city and our community, it's now theirs too. Which is a really cool thing. And so getting them educated as to what we do here and what we're about, and welcoming them with open arms, and then having discussions about maybe some of their history and their culture and what they could bring to our city to further enrich our sense of culture here as we're an ever-changing and growing and progressing city and community.
Caroline?
I think it's about listening would be a big one.
Yes.
One of the first things I did when I took over as chair of the Transit Advisory Board is I put on our agenda area for citizens to speak 15 minutes right away in the beginning of the meeting if they had anything to say, and then there was a proponent on there that they could also comment on any agenda items. I opened that up so that people with issues in transit could come to us and talk to us about these issues. That wasn't open to them when I first came onto the board, so I'm glad I switched that around. I want to hear the people's voices, and they want to be heard. Doesn't matter who they are, what color they are, where they come from, how tall they are. If you have an idea, I want to hear it.
Thank you. Steve?
Thank you. Well, I think as the mayor, I think you have to be someone very visible in the community. And I think Mayor Tower has been visible. I've been very visible in the community, very involved, very active in the community. I think we have to let people know there are ways to contact us. If you've got a question, feel free to call us or email us or stop us at the grocery store or at the farmer's market. I think we have tried to reach out, trying to get people more involved in boards and commissions, and we are having a hard time. I think it's difficult to get younger people because they have commitments with children and school and soccer and all these things. I think just letting people know either through maybe the city website that if you've got a question, contact some of us, not just the mayor but council members. The city staff is available to do speaking engagements, as are all the council members. I think it's a case of letting people know that these services do exist, and I don't think we've done a good job in the past of that.
Okay, thank you. What are the most important projects or activities that the city and the university should be undertaking together? We've got a university representative here, and I think it's a good time to ask that kind of question.
I think Steve hit on it before, is the housing. The off-campus housing is a big issue that I would like to address. Pub crawl is another one. I don't know why that's focused on the university so much.
What was the next pub crawl?
Would be another issue that, again, the university doesn't play a big role in it, but it has that stigma to it that we kind of have to put to rest. We just partnered with Aviation Business Park. University helped us out with that a great deal. Studies, they do the citizen survey. We work with the university on many different aspects, and to keep that open communication, that partnership is vital to the community.
Graham?
Sure. Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. And housing is huge. I know. So being vice president of our student body, we have an SLS director, which stands for Student Legal Services, but he also serves as the kind of housing director. He holds the housing fair every year, I believe every semester, where local where the local housing property owners come and try to get people to sign leases as well. But housing codes are something that we have to really look into and looking to revise, not to coerce the property owners as of now, but as Steve has been saying as well, students definitely deserve to be living in a clean and safe house. And some of those houses, I tell you, are very very poor in terms of design and structure. And so also I think parking is a huge thing as well. We have the largest commuter student base, commuter student university in the state, and so our university parking is an ever-ending debate, and so maybe seeing how to stimulate and or I'm losing the word, but how to wow, brain fart. Improve the parking. Geez, I lost it there. I apologize, but yes, just make sure we substitute some lack of parking in the university side. There it is, substitute, and really help supplement the lack of parking the university doesn't have. So yeah, that's it. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, thanks, Graham. I think you made your point. Steve.
Thank you. I think one of the first steps is working with the university on the housing issue. That's a way for us to get to know some of the students and you to get to know some of the people in the city government. We had our first meeting, I think, last fall about this whole issue. One of our people in our planning department said, I've worked in the city for 20 years, and this is the first time I've sat down with anyone from the university to discuss this issue.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I think that's a start. I think we can start this, small steps. I would encourage some of the students to come to some of the boards and commissions, learn how the city runs. I mean, what you see on a Tuesday night with the council is a culmination of a lot of hours spent in a lot of meetings. We're basically voting on things, and the staff presents us with their recommendations. But all the hard work, all the hard lifting happens prior to that. It's the meetings, it's listening to the citizens, it's out in the public to guide our decisions. But I would encourage the students from the university to don't just wait for us. I mean, get involved with what we're doing and see how the city runs, see how the city ticks. Right now with our historic tourism program, we're looking for some interns to put together the inventory of all the historic stuff in the city. What a great way to learn about the city, and especially if you're a history major, to learn about the city.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you. Do you have a quick question, Margie? Otherwise, we're running.
Sure, I do have one quick question. What are your thoughts on eco-friendly energy sources like windmills or solar panels?
Everybody in the city?
Hooray.
In the city, in the city.
City.
Excellent.
And make it quick, 30 seconds, or we won't have time for closing statements.
All right, I'll make it short and sweet. I think it's an absolutely amazing idea. I think the one thing that is obviously always troubling with amazing ideas is funding. How are we going to get it here, and how is it going to be used, and where is it going to be used as well. So I think if we don't let that question stifle an incredible idea like this, those discussions can be very forward-thinking and very beneficial for our community. So I think I'm very open to the possibility. I think it's a wonderful idea.
Next, Caroline?
I'm a supporter of green energy. In general, I try to live in a very holistic manner, trying to raise my children in that way, sustainable living, Yeah,
Okay.
I support that.
Good. Steve?
Again, I would say, Graham said, where does it go? Is public property or private property? Are they economically viable solutions in the city? Solar panels, I don't know that much about them. I mean, we don't have a lot of sun around here most of the year in the winter.
We have enough.
I guess I don't know that much about the panels or the windmills. The thing that bothers me most is the amount of stuff that goes in our landfills. Packaging,
Okay.
water bottles. There's got to be a way to eliminate the amount of packaging that we as consumers are consuming. Going back to
And I'm sorry, I'm going to have, we're off the topic, and we're running short on time. But thank you, I appreciate that. We do have time now for closing statements, and you each have 1 minute, and Graham Sparks will go first.
Alrighty. Well, I just want to have a few shout-outs because this is one of the biggest times of my life, and I want to say thank you to everyone, especially the League of Women Voters for having this. Hi, Mom and Dad. I know you guys are listening. Thank you for all your love and support, and my friends at University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh. This wouldn't be possible without any single one of you. And so to close, again, my name is Graham Sparks, and I just want to reiterate, this is not about the resume, this is not about the title, this is not about the salary, this is not about the money. This is merely someone who's a regular person, who's passionate, that wants to get involved and see our community succeed, and be the fresh, approachable face of our community. And so with that, I when I was running, I love music, and the song by John Mayer kind of comes into my head, "Waiting on the World to Change," and I'm here to say that I'm kind of tired of waiting, and I really want to get involved and have people come along the ride with me. So I encourage you to vote on the 17th. Reach out to me if possible, and thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Graham. Steve Cummings.
Thank you. The reason to vote for me as for mayor is I have experience, I'm professional, I have a deep knowledge of Oshkosh, its past, its present, and definitely its future. I've been a lifelong resident, I have a vested interest in the city, and I'm dedicated to seeing Oshkosh continue the positive momentum I have helped build. We want to have to stand a progressive path while remaining physically responsible. Again, as a property owner in the city, and therefore a taxpayer, I'm always mindful that I'm accountable to the citizens who also pay taxes. I have vision and the ability to get things done. I'm always mindful that my decisions have a long-term impact on the city of Oshkosh. I've loved living here. I now have a grandson. He's the 7th generation to live here, and I would like to leave the city in a better condition than I found it when I was born. So thank you.
Caroline.
Well, thank you again. Thank you, everybody here, for listening to us this evening. It's a wonderful opportunity to be able to address so many voters in such a fashion. I love this community. I've been a part of this town for my entire life. I'm very passionate about Oshkosh. I am excited to be as involved as I am now. I'm excited to have the opportunity to take this just that one step further and become mayor of the city of Oshkosh. I encourage you to vote on the 17th. And again, if there's anything I can do to help you out, let me know. I'm on Facebook. I have email. I have a phone number. It's all public record. Let us know what we can do to help you, and together we can make this place a little bit better. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. This concludes the Mayor's Forum. The election, as they have said, is Tuesday, February 17. Polls are open 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. You may register when you go to vote. Take a proof of residence with you if you need to register. No photo voter ID is required for this election. You may vote for one of these candidates, and let's give them a round of applause. Well, come mingle, ladies and gentlemen. Meet the voters.